We have a slightly different model today. We don't call it a presentation, we call it an interaction. We have called one of our well-wisher who actually helps our council from the day one in activities what we are involved to come and share some of the experience with us. Uh, the topic is again divided into two. Uh, One will be more like are always wanted to know what is the reality, what we should understand, and what is that the media will not inform us. That is what we want to listen from a media person. The second is, since all of us are very keen on our practice, uh, outside Bangalore do for successful practice. So we have requested Mr. Narayan, who is the editor of Outlook Money, to come and share as much information as possible. Uh, this whole thing will be in a format of 45 minutes each for a topic. He will make a small information initially for 10-15 minutes. It will be more of an interaction. I am requesting Mr. Thiru to do the moderation during the interaction. Now, most of us, at least here, I know most of the seniors know Mr. Narayan personally because he had been part and parcel of the council. He used to visit every one of our convention, spend a lot of time with our members. This is the last convention is the only one which he missed out. Otherwise, he had been a very regular, what should I call? I can't say participant, but an enthusiast and the person who used to encourage all of us in this matter. And all this he used to do, including today's meeting, at his own cost, without any of us sponsoring. Only for attending this meeting. That so we need to really thank him a lot. If anyone more than good friend is a good guide, advisor.
Thank you all. Thanks for patiently waiting and giving me this opportunity. Yeah, I know some of you I know by faces, but yeah, I've been kind of quite lucky to have interacted with some of you for quite some time now. And those who have tolerated me will tell you the other side of it that I'm not an easy nut to crack. So, as much as Srinivasan sir has been kind to liberally overemphasize on my being present in your conventions and so on and making this trip, etc. It's really fun to get to meet people who are in this profession. I have been only an observer or a silent chronicler of what activities have been going on in this profession. And I can only give you a small example of what most people perceive a journalist to be. He couldn't do anything, so he nagged being a journalist. That's the typical way of putting it, slotting it. And there is nothing wrong about it. Can you hear me now? Yes. I thought I was loud normally. Okay. What I meant was normally people in this profession turn out to be those who have tried various things and figured nothing is working, and you become a journalist. And that's the biggest qualification. So sadly, I will kind of try justifying why I don't like to be called a journalist, because one, I'm not trained. Second, I didn't get into this profession as a profession. I got into it purely because somewhere I felt that there was a cause to do something for others and make things better for people. And I've largely been only reporting and working on the financial services side. So it's not that I was one day following Shah Rukh Khan, another day a politician, and third day something else, and then one day discovered that yeah, I know how to work on Excel sheets, and discovered things thereon. So enough of boring on that part. But yes, I have seen this profession fairly closely in ways of talking to a whole lot of people as part of the FPSB journal, which I used to kind of work for. gave me a lot of insights into most people and what they were doing professionally, what they were doing, what they were claiming, and what actually they were doing. So it's an entire process of discounting a lot of things that I would say I encountered. So to me, most of you are in this profession just trying to figure out what's the next way of making money. Of course, there is a side effect of it that others are making money out of it, and you're doing a larger good for people to, handling their finances and helping them out with their financial goals, etc. But ultimately, you are making money, so let's not have two bones about that. So I've had instances where people will give a very bright picture of telling, I'm a fee-only financial planner. So, yeah, okay, what more? How much do you charge? That's when the questions would start getting into, or answers will start getting into, no, I have a model. So conversations would typically be as opaque as possible, and it'll take a lot of while to actually go meet or pester this person enough to get a sense what exactly he's trying to do. And then you'll get a component which will say that, yeah, I charge a fee, but there is an underwritten piece which comes, and how does that matter? But I only charge fees. That's what I wish to tell. So I hope none of you mind my giving this example of Templeton, which for years together, because of so much of conversation about value investing, everybody believes that other than Templeton, nobody knows what value investing is. And I'm talking about Templeton here. So I have some friends there, and randomly I had this conversation with them also to say that you managed to create this persona to say that you are the ultimate guys when it comes to value investing. But when I look at a lot of the funds, the way they are structured, the way they are managed, I don't see any value in there. So that's the flip side of, when you talk to people, you have to take that with a pinch of salt as to what they're actually doing, what they could actually be doing versus what really they're doing. So all of you in some way or the other are, I would say, discovering your own ways of how can I have a sustainable business. That's what it is. And the uncertainty with this business is what you'll keep continuing to grapple with because of various things. You will one fine day have some issue happening in some country, some issue happening in your own country, some issue happening with a regulator, some issue happening with a product manufacturer, and so on. So that's par for course, and you can't do much. However, the only way out which I see and which I find it very encouraging these days is almost everybody is interested in saying that how do I grow in this particular field professionally. So there is a urge to learn, there is an urge to share learnings with others, and that's fairly a very good sign which I see in this kind of your congregation, some others where I have been to. The people are willing to actually really talk about what they are doing and how they think their model is working. And it was nice of Dilshad to talk about models, etc. I don't know how many of models work, but typically everybody is trying out something and you're sharing your learnings. And why should you commit the mistake and learn from it? There could be others who could be committing those same mistakes and you don't make those mistakes. That's the way to go forward. So this entire, conversation in recent times has been more towards this shift towards RI. It has opened up a lot of doubts. It has opened a lot of discussions, debates on how can I circumvent it, or what is the best way to follow and be an RI while I don't lose out whatever I paid over so many years. I don't know what a clear answer is. Maybe Loya will have some answer on this. And I'm not passing it off as a buck to him. But generally, I know that people have been talking about, I want to move out completely from distribution to advisory. And a couple of them I have met. And frankly, to me, though they are claiming to be managing, being only advisors, actually what they are earning from advisory, I doubt if it can run their households. And that's a fact. Thankfully for them, they have some familial business or a spouse is doing better also. You have some other system which is taking care of the household income. It's not just the advisory which is doing it. And they are very open and loud at forums to say that I only do advisory, I can show you my records, this, that, blah, blah, all that is fine. But just earning that kind of realizations which they have from just doing that advisory and the kind of just the little bit money that they're charging, or the money which they are charging looks very little bit to me, I have my great doubts if they could survive if they did not have other support systems working. A second piece which has emerged is, I have a front door which says I'm an RI. There's a second floor in the same building which says my distribution happens from here. I'm not getting into the legal issues about it. People are they know how to circumvent compliances, or there are loopholes, there are ways to do it. You all are smart, you know. And I'm not rubbing it off by saying that you all know, but frankly, there is discovery happening there also. How do I manage this? And some of them have started doing this very nicely. A third set which I have come across is people who are doing this piece of, I have an RI, I also have my distribution, and I'm fine to rope you in as part of my RI. So all the advice part of it, all the compliance part of it, I'll take care of it. I'll put those stringent rules, regulations or procedures, but you get your client and come in and get out. You pay me some fee for it, but your compliance is being taken care of. So these are some instances which I have come across where people are functioning. But for a whole lot of people, the decision to shift from distribution to advisory completely looks too far-fetched at this moment. I think everybody is trying to work out their own ways as to, should I do it, or should I, how do I kind of completely have that leap of faith and say that I'll try this out. I'll be very happy if some of you have something else to kind of talk and share about on this. But that's largely what my encounters with those who are financial planners, those who are RIAs, those who are in the process of getting an RIA, and those who are distributors is what I've encountered. So I thought I'll leave you with that as a note, and please feel free to ask or share your thoughts or
Good evening. Before I set the ball rolling, some of you may not be aware that Narayan Krishnamurthy, NK as is known, is also an engineer by profession like some of us are here. Okay, and before he became the editor of Outlook, he was also consulting editor for FPSP India. Okay, am I right? So with this brief background about NK, I would like to ask two questions before I pass on to audience. One is pertaining to the FP trends and practices. So when I say FP, it could mean financial planning or it could be financial planners. That's the reason we had consciously kept FP. Now, can you just share your experiences when you visit Delhi, Mumbai and other places where you're moderating or having your encounters through conversations? Two things which strike you the most, which is happening in the last year or so. One, on financial planning itself. Two, the attitude and the transitions which the financial planners are taking.
Okay, so I'm not getting into the city part. most of the cities are same. I have been to some much smaller towns. I have been to Trichy, I have been to Coimbatore, I have been to Ranchi, I have been to Lucknow, I have been to Chandigarh and Meerut. Some of these places are very, very different demographics, and some places have had qualified CFCs there. So it's not that they have not been there. And there have been people who are distributors who are vying to get into AFP, CFP, whichever way you want to take it. What has been a very heartening experience for me with places like this where I've visited is the drive or the desire to become more process oriented in the way they function, more solution oriented for their clients, and the yearning to learn. That has been a tremendous thing. So I was part of one program with the Birla guys, and I'm not trying to pitch anything, where they started something on goal planning, chartered goal planning or something, so CFGP or something like this. So one of the sessions I'd been there. So it's a day-long process where a lot of things which are very commonly assumed if you know how to use an Excel are taught. And by end of the day, these people are examined to give that certification, and they have created a app, a tool, which is the most common thing for most people to do. But somewhere they are able to now define something for their client to say that I can say there is a goal, I can fix some value to it, fix some time period to it, and actually kind of go back to a guy saying that, you know, you do this for your son's education or you do this for your retirement, versus earlier going and saying that, see, you still have 3,000 rupees more, why don't you invest in this fund of mine? So, and these are at much smaller towns and cities. So whatever place I'm saying, while those are centers where I had visited, a lot of distributors and a lot of some CFPs as well from other places who were visiting there are from fairly far-flung areas. So when I said Meerut, you would have somebody coming from Aligarh, which is about 60 kilometers further. Dialect is different, language is different, everything is different, but he's landed up there. And each one, if he's spending in from those centers, spending almost a day committed to kind of learning, they're all one-man shops. And if they can afford to kind of say that I will shut my shop for a day, but come, learn something and go, I really felt it was very encouraging signs to see of interest and desire to learn. In terms of, so that's on the planners, what their aspirations are. On the planning process, yes, this entire experience has been, they are looking forward to ideas and suggestions and what is the way that I can kind of spend more time on doing valuable work than trying to do a whole lot of things all by myself. So everyone is looking for, is there a system, is there a process, is there a backend which something can I pick, someone else can you tell me, what is it that you're using that I can use for at my end and grow my size. And somewhere their ability to actually manage people to put in money has also gone up. So the communication is no more just saying that give me money and I'll give you some great idea, but actually being able to make them visualize what they're looking at. So there is an element of, I would say, development which has happened. So their communication has changed, their entire way of presenting themselves has changed. And I think their learnings in that sense has kind of gone up a lot more than what it would have been a couple of years ago. Because I had visited some of these places a few years ago.
In the opening remarks, you were mentioning whether advisory could be sustainable while what they speak and what they may actually have. I also would like to share with you a positive encounter I had recently last week. A young and upcoming professional from a place in Sangli, Maharashtra. Incidentally, he also attended our convention last time. He was sharing with me, even if I take him at his face value, I believe his advisory fee alone is around 30 lakhs or more, and he's full-time guy. So I thought I'll just share this with you because for a young guy with a minimum staff and only fee, he's able to sustain himself on a 30 lakh. And like you said about the learn and earn to get to be part of the continuing professional education. I see him in almost all the sessions. Wherever there is an event, he is there to be part of it. So that's a heartening side of it, which I thought I'll share with you, taking your remarks. So having done the FP, financial planner, and the trends, now coming to the media before I throw it to the audience. In terms of media, you want that? Okay, we'll go that. Okay. In that case, can I throw, or people can ask questions pertaining to financial planning and financial planners?
I'll kind of add to your case. I'm not saying that almost everybody is saying something and doing something when it comes to advisory. There are people who are making good sums of money just doing their advisory. But they see some kind of a boundary in terms of saying this is the max I can reach at this moment. For me to scale this up, I'm not able to get a clear picture whether this will happen or not.
And what is your view? We have been talking of fiduciary, suddenly Donald Trump comes and he removes off all that. And we have been talking about RIA and SEBI. Do you think that will be favoring us in the current standards where one of the key reasons mentioned is compliance cost? In the reason why administration decided to go back on the fiduciary rules is the compliance cost is very high. Will that happen here too, going forward, according to you?
A lot of people who are wanting to shift to RI is largely worried about the costs. It's not about their inability to do it. They are qualified, they are experienced, everything is there. Compliance is a worrisome thing. And like it or not, our government agencies are fairly vindictive when it comes to it. So if somebody catches you with it, you might be just wasting more of your time just addressing those issues. Having said that, I just add a couple of things where it's again, at least there is mushrooming of such thoughts to say that let the three of us join so that we are able to form an LPP or something which is there, and we have created an RI structure to that. But so that we are able to share a lot of those compliance costs or maintenance costs or all of the back-end costs while we are able to still say that we are advisory. So that's also something which is it's visible. Some places it's happening.
Collaboration among all the like-minded professionals.
Means is it situationally like-minded or circumstances are forcing them to join hands? I won't get into that. But it is helping them in terms of saying that, it makes sense that we four join together. We have our own things to do. But for a lot of things, we can share common resources, especially when it comes to all your regulatory compliances which you have to meet. We'll be able to do that and cost work far better than it.
Okay. Now I'll throw to open. Right side, anybody from here? Naveen?
Hello, boss. See, I've gone to a few smaller towns, and I've found that there is a substantial amount of fear. I've not been to Sangli, so I've not met this multi-bracket supervisor. But how far is the fear that you have seen? First part. The second is, I found that more and more ease for institutions to get away with what an RI or an IFA cannot, on mis-selling being one, and also getting in a lot of revenues. Do you think that I'm talking sense at all? And if I am, on the institutional side, do you think this is a trend that can continue?
You grade more than me, so you must be talking sense, that's one thing. But the fear is there. Why just are you looking for smaller towns? The fear is there even in the bigger cities. I come from a city where at the drop of hat, people will be exaggerating things manifolds. He might be telling you that I'm charging ₹1 lakh on advice, and I'll have to take it to the picture so that actually might be charging nothing. But that's the way it is. And he might just say I have 100 clients. So your maths is going wondering as to, and then you suddenly have to discount a lot of things when you meet this guy as to where is he functioning from, what's the kind of staff he has, and then you know where it is. And if you're a bit more conversant with him, you also discover a few other things that actually he's not capable of handling 100 people. So forget, talking about charging ₹1 lakh. So, which is what I'm saying, it's very easy to feel a bit upset. Oh, suddenly 30 lakhs, or 30 lakhs is what you said?
That's what I've taken
Yeah,
a face
so
value.
fine, so you said 30 lakhs. I'm saying suddenly 30 lakhs, Bangalore, and I'm wondering, can I? So it can have that psychosis to, generally scare you off to say that, boss, am I in the right place? Am I, doing my business in the right way or not? These kind of doubts will creep in, and it's a natural thing for a lot of people to have. But somewhere I'm sure you know what works for you. You will know that best. You can add few things from what others are doing which is working for them, and if you're able to do it. That's what most professions are getting into. I don't know if I answered that. The second part about the revenue, on the mis-selling part, yes, institutions will always be able to bulldoze a lot of things. And it's sadly that's the way it is.
Somebody from this side, please.
So I'll give you a different example of, sorry, I might be kind of digressing on this. So I have a lot of friends in the media who will thump their hands on tables and on TV discussions say, direct is the way. I think some of you should stand up and sometimes if you encounter them say that, show me one of your direct investments. Forget about all of it. Come to your directions. Okay, and I'll give you a different reasoning for this. That's the second part of it, we'll get into it, but I'll just give you a tip of it that a lot of them are very easily influenced. Because frankly, I don't know anything about this profession. That's my way of looking at it. I'm an observer here, so I don't know the depths of it. But it's for me to make a framework of what I understand and what I don't. So if I want to get swayed to say that, yeah, boss, this is the best thing, advisory is the way to go, I'll write reams and reams about saying advice is what you should go into, direct is what you should go into. Let's face realities. That's not how it's going to be. So when you come back to institution, I'll give you a slight example of I do have direct investments. I also have a distributor through whom I do route some things. So this very big AMC, one fine day I get a call and they kind of say, thank you for staying invested with us in Club. So I was wondering, what is it? What did I do that suddenly they have to call me one? My worry is that anytime I get a call, I'm slightly worried. I'm a very that way paranoid chap in some of these things. The next thing becomes they have a detail of you have direct investment with us in these two funds schemes and you have a distributor-led thing because it's matched somewhere. So you can shift that to direct. So I said, yeah, that's wonderful news. Thank you very much. You've told me. So when can we come? That's the next question. And I'm worried, as to this is data which ideally I don't expect them to be kind of privy to. Even if they're privy to, I don't expect them to be so bullish to kind of actually make a call and say that this is how it is. It's a fear for a whole lot of distributors because if this is the way AMCs are going to function, you're going to be sitting ducks that he's taken your client and you may one fine day get to know of it. And for all you know, he's just going to tell that client that boss, direct this much, distributor led this much. So this is what you're kind of paying more. This is what you should have paid. What can you do? You can't go fight the guy. I know most of you would be having issues with certain AMCs who would be not looking at you the moment you are contributing or kind of amassing only X amount of AM to them. It's a fact. Whatever said and done, you may have the best intentions for a client of yours, suggesting him the best of fun from an AMC. But the AMC doesn't look at you in the same way. Happens? Does it get reported anywhere? Why? Ought to, but I'll elaborate on that later. But I'm saying these are things which you have experienced it. I don't have to tell you more, but this is what is happening. Yes.
Okay. I have two questions. I think. I have two questions. First one is about the fees part. There are a lot of speculations going on, including I think you journalists are also speculating on it. So I have
Don't insult me by calling me that.
so I have a request or I have a proposition.
Yeah.
For example, all advisors who are supposed to charge fees, they are supposed to by this time should have registered with SEBI, either as individual RIAs or as institutional RIAs.
Yeah.
And SEBI has got a detailed disclosure requirements, including organization structure, the whole, who is the compliance officer and then who is the key person, all that. So don't you think that it would be a good idea in the interest of everyone, including RIA regulation itself, to ask SEBI to disclose a revenue stream from advisory, and then also revenue stream from, let's say, selling the products. I think then it would make things clear for all of us, including journalists also, and then I think maybe afterwards you people can start researching how it is.
No, fair enough. It's a very nice suggestion, definitely. I'll give you the only instance when I've had this kind of a conversation with somebody at SEBI. The simple answer was, I don't think we are mature enough at this moment to disclose all of this publicly. So,
But they collect, at least under the audit system, they are collecting the data.
So they do, and that's exactly where the answer comes that I don't think we are mature enough to share this publicly at this moment. He does it public. So for the public, I can't share it at this moment. Maybe a few years down the time, you will have that.
But so as a, that was my
It's again, you're telling what it is, no? So that's a rule which has been formed. Here, there, if I tell you, if I tell how much you kind of charge fee and how much someone else does, it exposes both of you for various reasons. You may not want it, he may not want it, and you may yourself kind of have issues to say, I don't want this to be disclosed.
So I mean, is it that, for example, it would be encouraging for all of us. For example, I am not an RIA. If I get to know the revenue, what can happen, let's say some top 50 or top 100 RIAs in India. So that should encourage me to also to migrate
How
to.
will you define top 50, top 100?
That only by the numbers what SEBI can disclose.
Now you don't. They are not disclosing this at this moment. I'll give you a different thing of where we had got into some trying to exercise this engagement, trying to say that we want to see, or at least have a list of top 100 basis XYZ some parameters. Most of the things which I would want to ask, nobody would want to share.
2013 is when they rolled out October, so it's three audit should have happened by this time, 2017.
How many numbers is pittance in terms of?
So then it all boils down to fact that they don't want to be honest, or they don't want to be truthful with what they are doing, but they still want us they want all of us,
See,
or many of us to.
No. So I'll give you a slightly my version of this.
Okay.
So I had this very interesting conversation with a RIA based in Delhi and a Bombay based guy, and I was with them both. So I was, it's a parallel conversation which I was kind of trying to ask the questions. The answers were so, starkly different. Here, this guy from Bombay was trying to put systems I have got, this is what I have done. Here, the other guy was trying to think that, look, I have already get segmented, this is the fee I'm going to charge X kind of people. So the conversations don't match. I'm saying even within RIAs as to what their focus is at this moment, it just didn't match. So I could only sense that here was a guy who was trying to do an Excel sheet to say I'll have 50 guys in this category, 20 guys in this category, and this will add up to my fee. And here is a guy who's trying to say this is what I deliver. I'm not disclosing what my fee is at this moment because I don't wish to kind of talk about it.
So last question in this part of it. So is it fair to think that unless until you are able to cross-subsidize your business of owning a RIA license and then being compliant with that, and then maybe in future it will take care. So is that the only possibility now as far as business model is concerned?
See, those who will be kind of, who were distributors and are shifting, you will always have the pain point of, do I give this away completely? You will never want to know. You can't say that it's pre-November 8 and post-November 8 kind of a situation. It's not possible in this. You work 20 years, 15 years. So I'll give you a simple example. I had met this gentleman whose father was an LIC agent for decades. So it kind of, family moved to, things moved to him. So it's about 200 odd people who get service from some legacy issues. They don't pay him much at all. Those policies or servicing those policies don't earn him anything at all. But he still does it. Because there is an element of that 200 sets him off with a lot of other things which he's able to charge and do other things with them. And that 200 is actually probably quadrupled to something else. So these are things which you will encounter by yourself. Some elements or certain planners or RIs would be with much shorter historical issues or legacy issues. They may be able to jump into the fray and say that, let's try it and see what happens.
Thank you so much, Mr. Narayan. It's very funny that we are asking this question to you as a journalist. Though it would have been very good if some of our peers would talk to us on these things and then give us some insight.
That's what you all guys talk about.
Yeah, so I think that would be a good thing if it happens. So the second question, you are talking about, incidentally, about your direct plan and plans distributed through distributors, given through distributors. So, for example, if you see what is happening in some of the developed countries, especially US, there is a large volume migration which is happening from actively managed funds to passively managed funds, that is actively managed mutual funds to ETFs per se.
Right.
So now here what we are seeing is that there is a big focus both by the regulator as well well as media also about direct plans. For example, I was sorry to say this, but I don't read your magazine. But let's say whatever comes on my Twitter timeline, it seems that media and the writers, some of the writers in the media, they are propagating direct plan as a distinct advantage. Even as the trend is towards migrating away to things like ETFs, which doesn't have any fund managers themselves. So I was just wondering that is it that the regulator and even media is trying to live with a thing which can be transient? Because let's suppose that I become RI hypothetically, and then I tie up with, let's say, some good ETF manufacturers, whoever they are available or whoever they are going to come up. Then I will cross over going through direct plans at all. I will just build my portfolio to my clients using ETFs or whatever is possible. So then why this point? And then there is a distinct cost advantage to the client. Okay, he doesn't have to pay to fund manager. But whereas when I am reducing the cost to him, I think it will be very easy for me to take my fees, whatever it is, 1.5% or whatever it is, as much as I am getting today. But in the whole food chain, what is going to happen is that fund houses would suffer. They have no alternative but to manufacture low cost ETFs. So how do you see that this trend emerging in India?
I slightly disagree there because fund houses have a smarter way of saying that I have my own RNs, they will do it, and I don't need intermediaries to sell this for me. So cost wise, they will not get into it, they'll have their direct models to sell. The other side being why the regulator is very clear on his approach on this aspect. You can't charge the end consumer high fees. What do you charge them for? And that is a very unlikely situation to be rolled back. That approach is unlikely to kind of find any change. There has been a huge influence, I don't deny about it, that a lot of people have taken up or had taken it semi-activism in trying to say that let's protect consumers. So ranting about and showing calculations which are so skewed to say that a distributor earns this much when you're using him to kind of invest versus doing it yourself. I think somewhere they forget the value which a distributor or an intermediary definitely brings in. Good or bad is debatable, but definitely there is a value add which a person comes. I had a 70-year-old man in recent times who, after all this fiasco of putting too much money into the bank, was wondering now what do I do with it? Because earlier he was doing some random thing wherein he was at least distributing cash and earning some cash interest on it. Now his whole problem is, I don't know what do I do with this money which is sitting in my bank. And I'm fearful of somebody coming and selling me or trying to fill this form, sign this up, because I don't trust half of these guys. I read so much, I hear so much, but I don't know what to do with them. Eventually, I'm not saying I'm saying, but it was easy for me to explain to him certain things which work for at his age to his favor. And but it has been very difficult to move someone like him, and he's a well-educated, good systems person who would have adapted in a lot of way to changes over years. But one particular aspect, if you're stuck up on by saying that I can't, I'm sure you meet a lot more various kind of people there who are.
Okay, we are running short of time. I'll take
Sure, Narayan, thanks so much for answering the questions patiently.
You have a question?
Yeah.
After Vinod's the last question, then you take on. Yes.
Just a while ago, you mentioned that the market is, or the people are not matured enough to take the information about the fee, what they are, in the sense, their advisor is earning. Is it right? That's what you meant?
No,
or?
I didn't mean that. I said the regulator feels the market is not mature enough for us to publicly disclose what.
But it is happening, right? In a way, in a cash, they are mentioning how much distributor is earning because of their investment, and collectively, how much distributor is earning, if at all he is in the league of 100 crores club. Like it is
So
getting
I'm saying
published.
distribution, it is a very clear thing because it's a defined thing as to this is what you earn on what you sell. that is an automated way of coming
So
out.
currently they have apprehension about disclosing the fee what people are getting by the way of advisory.
Advisory.
Is there?
Regulator does not have the fear. Regulator has the fear that if I disclose this publicly,
Yeah.
I think the public is not mature, because you will then say he's charging X, that he's
No, if
charging
that is
Y.
the case, regulator is feeling that public is matured enough to understand whatever distributor is getting.
They are not.
Commission is different, fees are different.
No, in
Commission
a
they
way
want
here they are matured enough to understand. In a way they are. That's what I was feeling contradicting.
There, the disclosure which goes on commission, which one earns, is largely for your community. Very few investors will be very greatly interested in knowing who's earned how much commission. Most of the retail guys will not be. The institutional guys will be, because they will have reasons to come and ask for something or the other. I mean, it just doesn't matter to me what's the distributor earning here.
Okay, thank you.
Of course, it does create that element of, once I know and two other people come and tell me something more, I might just kind of stop or delay my actual investment process. So I'll start procrastinating, just wondering as to when I'm going to charge this or something else is going to happen.
I have, a lot of questions are being asked which are a little, and what you are saying sounds very skewed in against RI. That is, this is not a thing that you should sort of go forward with. I'm using my journalistic skills to interpret. But I'm saying that, to try and end up this part on a positive note, what did you see as positives in the Outlook Money Award application that you saw from advisors?
See, the very reason that we created that as a category just got created a year ago. So this was the second year in succession. You were a winner, you were a runner, you know what goes through it. The intent was clear that there is a segment which needs advisory only, or needs advisory with all the fiduciary, everything else coming into place. And I have a significant interest on behalf of my readers that they should know who these people are. And that was the basis on which this was created. So very clear about that there is a role for them. But it doesn't mean that there is no role for the others.
No, but I'm asking in this space, what you saw, from whatever you
So I'll give you, we had reached out to everybody who was registered, including institutions. The first year, a lot of institutions were interested. Thankfully, we work on a very jury-enforced systems, and so those who are not aware, we have Outlook Money has an annual award which is very consumer-centric with whatever it does, and in the process, we have some fairly well-graded people with a lot of experience and blah blah blah. So once the moment it says it's consumer-centric, their focus was with advisory. We don't want institutions to come in, because while it will say it's an ICICI whatever, it's not one person that I can kind of actually link the thing to. Whereas if I say it's Lowai, I can link Lowai to this particular thing. So we will rather that this is handled only for the individual. So the institution just automatically got out of it. The institutions did feel bad about it, but we said, look, boss, it doesn't serve my purpose. I can't help it. In terms of response and the effort which has gone in, I'll say those who had applied, they had kind of, they had actually shared everything which was asked of them. And you've been through it, so there is a plan which is kind of asked from those who are applying for it. And these plans are vetted by two international planners, so it's not that, it's just kind of somebody sitting in a room and trying to say that I'll discover this and that when I don't know it. So we ensure that piece, and that's got about 50% of the weightage goes for just that. So fair value, if I look at it, and they were also very nice in terms of writing back with some comments or the other for most of the things which were shared with them. So I would say the rigor goes up, and more of these kind of activities can only kind of somewhere either benchmark or set some new ways for others to feel that here is a window for me to kind of be there, and there is a value if I'm shortlisted there or something else happens or I'm kind of recognized by them. By the way, we might get into a situation where if you win a third time, we will just say you are retired for the time being.
I didn't win. So
If you're there in the top two, you're as good as a winner for me.
Next time probably.
Okay. Now that the part one is over, I think you may kindly share your thoughts on media. Then we can take up. We very soft.
I need some water. Yeah, sorry, that is one thing. No, please. I'm more used to asking questions. I'm not used to answering questions.
In fact, that is what he said when we called him for this.
Turn the table.
And so let's see whether I pass or not at the end of it. The second piece is, please don't take the media seriously. It's an honest confession. It's a very good melting pot of ideas, thoughts, suggestions, rants, and extremely stupid views also. Have a good laugh, sit back, and take what you want out of it. Don't get very fixated that this is what is being said, that's what it is. It's not. So that's a ground which I would like to set before I get further talking about this. I'll just restrict to more on financial journalists or so-called financial journalists.
We should have a financial journalist award also.
No, there are people who have those awards. You have to self-nominate yourself to be recognized by somebody who doesn't know about finance. So that's another side. Actually, most of those, even while Indian Express, I have nothing against it, but Indian Express or the Ramnath Goenka Awards are, you have to be nominated by your editor in a category and then be pushed to the jury there. And the systems work if I'm an editor and I know that these are the 3 jury members, I just say that boss, we did 5 brilliant stories and I think you should kind of look at them or something. So a lot of that happens. And you kind of live with it. So I'm not kind of saying it's good, but it's good in a lot of ways. At least it makes people take notice of somebody or the other for good, bad reasons. Judgment is left for you all. When I say finance journalists or journalists who cover some element or aspect of finance, I might be kind of hounded if this kind of a video goes off somewhere else when I make this statement. Most of us don't know anything of finance.
We only post pictures, we don't post videos.
Okay. Thanks for the confidence. So I'll give you this example of about 14-15 years ago, the first of slightly senior finance journalist I had encountered, and he had no clue of how to arrive at a CAGR. And I'm not kind of making this up. Actually, didn't know. We could write beautifully, and so when you read it, you will find that wow, what a lovely stuff he's written. But when you actually sit back and think, but what is it actually was he trying to say? There was nothing in it. Packaging was wonderful, but the product was pretty flawed. But that's reality with most finance journalists. So I'm not again, don't take it that it's meant for all. There are good ones also in it. Difficulty for most is they don't have a finance background first. One might have literature, economics, engineering. I've encountered a dropout medico. So they've been all kinds. So there is nothing which kind of trains them into this finance or element of finance into it. And I'll give you few examples of recent times. 2 media houses had big sackings which happened in the last 2 months. So if you're not aware, ABP had about almost 1,000 people whom they kind of retrenched. HT Media kind of again had about 150, 200 people who were retrenched. And there was this huge activism in various ways to say that how could they do this. My point is, at the same time, HDFC Bank sacked or kind of said that we are retiring about 4,500 people. This, when they're making thousands of crores quarterly profits, they can actually afford to have people employed with the monies they have. Linking the financial part of it, most of them would not, when they will be talking about, direct, this is what you gain, this company is not doing well, this fund is not doing well, they will have very little idea of replicating that back with their own companies to understand as to are we ourselves profitable, is my magazine profitable at all or not. A lot of them may not understand the dynamics of how the business itself works. And if it's a revelation. I'm honest on that. I'm not kind of giving you any fab in terms of cooking up something. So actually they don't know. So it's many of them actually believe that we sell magazines, so whatever revenue comes, that's good, makes money. If that's what the way, your salaries would be much less than what they're actually drawing. So they have very little, one, inclination to understand things by themselves unless pushed. And many of you would have encountered journalists in a lot of ways. Pretty much the common thing would have come to say that, but you tell me how is this done? So I'm not countering you also. I'm just saying you tell me how does this work, and I go by X said, this is what it is, and that X becomes a gospel for me. So when I started writing about personal finance to some extent, I had a handful of people to speak to, and it's a lore now about Gaurav Mashruwala in that sense. And the only conversations which me and Gaurav would have in those early days for me was, but how do you make money on this? You tell me that. Rest I'm not bothered. Because rest all to me was, must be happening. There are other ways to do it. So invariably, the genes in him would be not directly answering my question, but indicative enough for me to understand actually how the profession works. And I learned, and that's the only way I learned. And thanks to him, I still have an ARM number floating around with some monies which comes into it and so on. But I would say that I deliberately tried learning things because I felt if I'm not aware of something, if I don't understand it myself, if I don't have the conviction, I bloody well not try preaching others. This is what I don't believe everybody should have that kind of a thought process. It's not fair. Everybody comes with their own limitations and intelligence, which may be a lot more than that. But going back to your question about the disclosure issue about fees on which planners or IFAs earn, there was a time when an insurance agent will not tell you how much he was earning as a commission versus a Y company's insurance agent. It was not easily available. Even if it was available, they will never kind of fleeting or floatingly kind of share that ICICI is paying me a higher commission on this versus.
One input I would like to give there. In fact, it was not so difficult. Let's say for a company like LIC, what used to happen? Third-party people used to publish a digest for LIC. Okay, it will have for each table what is the policy and all. It's like a ready reckoner kind of thing. That ready reckoner will invariably have at least 5 to 6 pages of commission structure.
Yeah.
So even for journalists, or even for media people, or even for any commoner, right? It was not so difficult. It's available, in the market.
I know how many people kind of became agents by reading those pages.
Yeah, 100 rupees.
So, but very few actually learned by understanding what the agent earns.
No, it had a detailed calculation.
I agree.
But if you publish in the book, you also need to know which page to open to get the answer.
Those who saw it kind of not learned as to what the agent is learning, but they felt that there is an opportunity for me. So I've encountered some journalists who were in insurance agents. I'm not putting LIC, they were insurance agents. And it was very difficult for them, even because of their compulsions of being agents, to say anything good about a mutual fund. Whereas actually, fundamentally, they should be the ones who should have been able to tell the ULIP is bad and this is good. But they could not. They got so swayed into this entire, because that cesspool created good income streams for them. And if they said this is good or this was better.
For your information, just 2 days before I saw a tweet from one of the journalists saying that insurance agents are snake oil salesperson. Right? So she had, it was she. So she had no guts to say that the largest snake oil manufacturer in India is the government of India itself. But then
ultimately the government will earn from you, no?
Yeah. So, but then agents are so easily targetable.
That's fine, but what I'm coming back to this media business of where we stand, learning is, a drive to learn is diminishing, I would say, within journalists, and I will be very happy to be corrected here. Larger set would say that it's easy for me to drop a mail to somebody, give them some 3-4 things to answer on the mail. I don't even wish to speak to you because it's an effort for me to speak to you. Slightly the apprehension is if this person retorts and asks me one question, I may not know what the answer is. So, so better kind of say that it's a one-way traffic. I'm texting to say that I have sent you a mail, please see, please blah blah blah. That's what it will happen. And I don't blame a lot of them for this because under their compulsions or their setups, it's far more encouraging to say that, okay, you know, these are the 3-4 people you should speak to. You've never given this person a brief enough to say that what is it that you should be doing? Do you understand this at all or not? So I had this very interesting character who was working with me till about 2 years ago. For a 6-month period, this guy had come, very smart. And he could ask questions. He could only ask questions. But he could never kind of, have that logical sense of, I've asked this question, so the next question should not be asked. So, so that was a fundamental fault. It's a big put off. If you're asking me the same question, or you're asking us, the same answer has to come out from a different question, but the questions are actually the same. It's an irritation for somebody else. You don't have that kind of time. You're taking your time and you're trying to be nice, and honestly, a lot of people have been very kind to me to explain things very meticulously. There's a friend sitting here, Amalthi, is from India Life Pensions, and I know I have bugged him many a times about, can you tell me a bit more about what is actually I'm contributing which goes in the PF as part of EPF, as part of PF. I've done it, so let's not kind of joke about it, but it happens. I'm sure he kind of tolerated it because he also wanted that I understand things far better. Ultimately, whether I did or not, is justice is to be done, but largely you make that effort and you get it. There's no harm. So I can only put some checks, and my job becomes that of a goalkeeper in my place because I have not many people, but whoever is doing whatever. Ultimately, I feel if somebody is reading my magazine or consuming me, basis that if they take an action and that's a wrong thing which has been told to them, it's a huge blunder. I can't be playing with others' money. I have a wife who's a doctor, and our arguments are very seldom, but randomly when it happens in terms of, you're not listening to me is what my constant complaint is. And her point is, it's life and death that I'm dealing with, not your rubbish. Money can be made, but here it's life and death. So that's an honest submission, it happens. And so when you say money, so I fear the other way around, I can't be telling somebody something which is wrong, knowingly. And unknowingly, I should not let it go. So either I learn, or I ensure those who are doing this learn. So I think last year or year before, Loai's Delhi branch was very, liberal in coming and sitting with very young reporters. I had to explain them very basic things about finance. It helped because for a whole lot of them, the assumptions were very different. But by setting some fundamental agenda, it helps. So at my place, I try every month to get somebody or the other, not necessarily from the financial services space, but overall get somebody who can tell something good about their profession. So I had a magician a few months ago who had come, and somebody was having this entire thing of, you land up kind of doing some crazy stuff, yeah, we don't know. Eventually what this guy was trying to tell us, what his brief was, show something, but it should appear something different. So that's what you'll end up doing. It's not just about writing, it's also about how your stories visually are appealing. And it becomes very difficult to explain to a 22, 23-year-old guy or a girl that it's not about your writing abilities I'm looking at, because if it is not looking interesting enough, nobody's going to read the rest. They have that visual disconnect completely. So to get them that aspect is why this magician had come. Of course, at the end of it, I think the cakes and pastries were far more interesting and the magician than what the message was. But journalists in that sense have this huge ego. So if you try telling them in a way that, oh, but you don't know this, I'll tell you what it is, they will never come to you. That's one. So that's a lesson to be learned. The second piece is you could always kind of tell them that, well, you're right, but here's a better way of doing whatever it is. They need to be spoon-fed. Do it, it'll help you also a lot. Third piece, which I have discovered, which has started kind of diminishing, is there used to be a time when a lot of a lot of bankers, AMCs, even insurers would spend some time in taking us in small groups to actually get some basic fundamentals right. It was a put off for certain senior journalists because they felt that, oh shit, I know all it. Now, you can't be always know it all. At some point of time, regulations change. There are developments which happen. There are circumstances which have changed because of which an industry itself has evolved and gone. But you're still stuck to some basic piece which you thought was correct and you're just still dreaming about that. Because of some changes in these aspects, I feel a lot of people are still remaining in a very pre-2000X space. And that reflects in the way they kind of even communicate and talk. So while the basis of home loan rates have changed, many of them will still keep talking about something else which is archaic, and or they will kind of, this entire direct is something which I've just not understood. How can you be so certain that direct is so good?
Sir, I have two questions if you don't mind.
You always have two questions. Yeah.
So the first question is about your stint with FPSB as a consulting editor of journal, and I used to read.
That was a trap.
Yeah, I know.
I should also confess
it's
that.
not about what you could or what you could not do it, but I just want to get a perspective over that. For example, I used to read financial planning journal published by US. Our parent organization very keenly at that point of time, because I used to do a lot of study on retirement plans. So one of the things which was standing out in that journal is data-driven, research-based articles. So, but it's I am from the second batch of CFP in India. Some of us are here in the first batch. So since then to now, in the FP journal of FPSB India, I have not seen. If I missed it, I don't know, but generally speaking, I have not seen any such research-based, data-driven research-based articles in India. So, what is the disconnect? Why it is happening? Is that we are not capable of doing it, or what is that is missing here? That is the first question.
Sorry, 1 second. If you don't want to answer, you can.
Yeah, I mean it's a perspective. It's
Okay, let me first answer this question and go to the second after that. Otherwise, I'll forget what I was trying to tell you. Couple of things. I don't think the journal was constructed in a way to be a journal in that real journal sense. The second piece, whenever there was an attempt to try getting some research, where would this research come from? Practitioners? If practitioners don't share research or they don't get into research themselves, what is it that the journal could do? Third, it was when I said trap, I actually meant it because there was zero monetary any issue to which came to me, and I should blame Srinivasan sir for this because I got trapped by something, and ultimately, so when we started, there were at least 4 or 5 people who were supposed to work on it, including Arna Pandya, and later, I get a frantic call from Sadiq who says that, boss, the others are not answering phones. And my thing was, oh shit, why did I answer? And then it was like, if you have met Sadiq, you'll know he has that one extreme power voice and power face to say that, but I don't know anything. And my point was, you're supposedly the editor or whatever you're there. So what do you want me to do? But we have to go to print in 2 days, so something has to be done. So I got into doing something, and of course, it then became a practice of, okay, nobody is going to do something. If I want to do something, let me also try poking people by asking them something and learning something. So it was a major learning for me. And perhaps I would say that the 7-8 years that I was involved in doing something or the other for them, I got to interact with far more planners than otherwise I would have ever kind of interacted with. So either it was on a phone or a mail and then a phone or something, but it was good time. As far as research, I would still blame it in terms of, again, the degree of maturity of those who were subscribing it was also funny, because you also had students who were taking it. And many of them, the few technical pieces which would come, the feedback would come very beautifully to say that it was all overhead delivery for me. So you would then wonder as to what are you doing.
Okay, can I ask the second question now?
Yeah.
Okay, that's more directly pertaining to what you are doing now. So I have one observation. Of course, nowadays for the past 2 years, I am not reading any personal finance magazine, so I can't. This comment may not be pertaining to that period, but it is directly related in a way to what we are also doing in our office and in our practice. So usually, financial planning in many of the journals, many of the magazines which I used to read, would end up suggesting 3 things. Okay. Term insurance, health insurance, mutual fund. I hope that template or that format is now changed. If it is not changed, why is that magazines like you, when they talk about financial planning, like case studies, financial planning, and the solutions given, would end up in this situation? Because many a times, some of our clients, some of our prospects have commented this. What is that financial planning you are doing? Health insurance, term insurance, and mutual fund. So what is so great in it? They have made this comment. So do you have any
Okay,
views
so
on it?
I'll kind of, now that you've given me this thing, I can just try telling you that. You're right.
And the caveat is, of course, for the past 2
No,
years.
predominant. So it's a completely, it's a factor of what your output, what you're talking about is, what goes in, goes out is what exactly happens. Predominantly at some point of time, and I have observed, so I'm not getting into my publication in that sense of what I do, but largely it just became a fanciful thing to say that let's produce a family, and most photo editors will say should look good, otherwise we can't print. So your first factor will not be a case study in terms of what their problem is or what their situation is. How do they look? Is there a good-looking female lady there? Is there a child there? Is there some grandparent there? So these are 4 or 5 factors which have happened. So I have encountered an editor who would say that, hey, no dark complexion, let's not kind of talk to these guys. I have. So this has happened. So and I'm not kind of. So I'll give you. So this is a fundamental place. So now you've identified this person. Suddenly you realize that this person actually has very little understanding of what they themselves want their cases to be handled about. Some of you here have done it for us, so I don't have to go, and I have encountered in asking you to do something more, or come back and said, can you do this, or explain this a bit more. Reasons for that is, again as I say, the gatekeeper becomes me. Because if I have to give just about 700 words and say you do a plan, you know how many pages it runs into, how much details goes into it. So let's be honest, what are we doing? We are not even showing the trailer. So if you have to show the trailer, you will keep doing that only. Hero is term, villain is health, and the sidekick is pension and retirement. That's it. Khatam ho gaya. It has evolved. So today when I say that just let's stick to, if this is a plan which, if they are trying to create a corpus for the child's education, just let's streamline to focus only on that. Give most. So I'm not kind of looking into, are they looking nice, not looking nice. That's a person, that's what it is. He's representative of who my reader is. I can't force it to say that, change your face or something. So I'll give you a different answer for this. There was this, last week I had this encounter of a budget issue which I was closing for my magazine as well as for my parent Outlook. And somewhere both wanted Arun Jaitley on the cover. Now, the reason for Outlook to have Arun Jaitley is very different. They will get into a lot of big picture piece. We were very clear this is what it is, and for me there was nothing in the budget, so that's exactly what we said. No fuss, no frills, and we finished it off with that. But what do you do? The man looks the same. It was the same photographer who had gone to take a picture of this man. So he was given 10 minutes. So he stood like this, he stood like this, he sat like this. That's it. That is the only option which is available to you. So, but if you see the slight work which went into how Outlook used versus how we use, I can only say that we were a bit smarter because I get my insights from different ways. So while we have a huge thing that says money, the O is where we put Arun Jaitley's face with him standing full. Now, there are smarter guys who said, zero de diya tumne. like, paisa vasool. Come, let's go, let's have it. But for a lot of people, it was a different way. Oh, you guys, instead of the money being written as money, you have put a face, you've distorted this. Come on, yeah, guys, nobody is looking at it like that at all. Each one knows how to interpret their own things. Answers? Something?
Sure, sir. And you have been very
Yeah.
patient enough to answer.
Niti,
Thank
you wanted to ask something?
Yeah.
Did the month on month, this budget thing increase, the circulation, the sales of this?
So see, I'll give you a different thing. I'm a very, like I said, I'm a very difficult nut to crack for a lot of people. I'm also very hated within my systems. Normally editors will come, okay, this is our territory, this is my team of 10-15 reporters, and life is gone and gone. So I go catch hold of the circulation guy and say, hey boss, that stand didn't have our copies. Or some random airport LP, I couldn't see my magazine here, so why is it not there? So he gets obsessed to say that, oh shit, somebody is tracking where we are and where we are not. Suddenly it's an advertisement, the guy who sells that space, he gets hauled up one fine day to say that, I saw somebody else advertising, you kept saying these guys don't advertise. So I can't be just dissociated to say I'll just do my part of creating content, putting it in there, and so I do see these, I do see the ROIs. Only thing I can say is, yes, I've been very fortunate that we are profitable. That's all I look for.
That's all it counts as.
I mean, otherwise, I can't go back to my promoters and say that, boss, give me an increment or give my team some more money for the work. I also have to go with my goals, no?
I heard the correspondents are rewarded by how many headlines they grab. Is it true?
So, suddenly there will be you will have people who will be pretty underground from April to November. And December to, like JFM, they will also go berserk. I'm giving you 50 ideas, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. So suddenly you see that this person is doing a lot of work. Because most editors are not day-to-day engaged in a lot of things. So perception will be working a lot. So April, when you're looking at how much do I give or how much do I इसको ज़्यादा देना चाहिए. Recent memory is they did a lot of research. There are few media houses which have a very good appraisal system. Most don't have. Most don't have an HR itself. Okay? So there will be some admin guy somewhere who will be functioning also as an HR. So it's not that that's his role, but he's also functioning like an HR.
Once upon a time, when we used to read the leading periodicals like ET, Times, I used to directly go to the first page. Today I have to wade through a lot of 4 or 5 advertisements before I go to the headlines. So the question we ask is, in WhatsApp and other groups, we tend to discuss on some articles which we don't know whether it's a paid article, whether it is informed article by a known journalist or not. How do we determine in a magazine how much percentage is paid, how much is actual contribution by a thinker who is trying to give his perspective? Say you take any periodical, what is the weightage you give for paid and how much is actual?
So this is not a recent phenomenon, and this has been there ever since this trade has been. And I have had instances of hearing there's a cubby hole called the Press Club in Delhi, and people go there only to drink and nothing else. Food is good, but largely people go there only to drink and nothing else. So I have seen over the years a transformation of a bunch of people who will come and buy a journalist a good drink somewhere, not at the Press Club, somewhere else, and make him feel that, look, I took you out to a 5-star, I fed you, I did this, I did that. So now I'm sharing information with you, which is only with you.
Exclusive.
So it's an exclusive. So maybe not the next day, maybe 2 days later, somewhere guilt pan would come, oh shit, he paid for a dinner, he paid for this, he paid for that. Let's do some piece, where we are. So it could have been purely a stupidity with which a person did whatever they did. But it happened even 20 years ago. Many of them thrived on it. I don't wish to take names, but there are few people who are extremely assumed to be authority. They are not authors, their authority is what many people assume them to be. They are authors actually. They will have no clue about the banking, what they're talking of. They will get into extremely theoretical M1, M2, M3, I have no idea what it is, but they will get into conversations which will be basically like, oh shit, maybe he knows a lot more and I should respect him for all of that. Eventually you will find what he or she is writing is a compulsion of whatever has kind of got them into doing what it is. And can I call that as paid? I'm not sure. Can I call that as page filler? I'm very sure it happens. It's a compulsion. Newspapers today are largely facing that biggest challenge as to how do I fill up my pages. I fight a different battle, and I'll give you this also as a secret out. There is an equation with which I function in terms of there has to be X percentage of advertising to happen for me to carry a Y percentage of pages. It has to add up to 100. Till that balance is not there, I'm not going to take more pages. I'll reduce the issue size, I'm fine. I have to repeatedly keep telling my reporters, my colleagues that we are not here for scrap. What we do is valuable. First, start accepting that and believing in that yourself. You don't have to produce 100 pages just because somebody else feels that 100 pages looks thick, wonderful. So I go with my circulation guy whenever he says, competition does 100 pages every month. I said, show me the competition. 6 months afterwards, there was no competition. So that's the way it is. So I'm saying a lot of these things will be compulsions of various kinds. So whether it is paid, whether it is semi-paid, and whether it is compulsion, you will have to be judgmental. Which is why I'm saying a lot of times don't take it too seriously. So going back to the ET, the front page will tell you something, page 4 will tell you something, the white page will tell you something, ET will tell you something. All of it is contrary to what they are saying. It's happened. It happens very frequently. Reason for that is the functionality becomes page 1 editor looks only at page 1. A markets editor looks only at markets. A wealth will say only wealth. None of them have that coordination to stitch it all together. To have that, there's no faith keeper there to say that, boss, we are doing something stupid. Those systems are no more there. Those goalkeepers are no more there. Largely, that's the problem.
So Narayan, I was totally clear about my question when you started and gave that disclaimer, but a lot of the things you said were, eye openers. And I'm sorry, I would think of media here, and now it's come somewhere here. Unfortunately,
we are ourselves to blame. So please, I'm nothing against.
Yeah. So the thing is, the ultimate consumer, right? The people who read newspapers or personal finance magazines, for them whatever is written there is sacrosanct, right? ये बंदा media में आया तो ये बोल रहा है वो सही है, right? And they will believe everything that is written. So PPF has given better returns than Sensex over 10 years and stuff like that. People lap it up, right? So if there is nobody to monitor that what's going into the media is actually right or wrong, so in fact sometimes as financial advisors we too get influenced, right? So आप average consumer के बारे में सोचो, they believe everything that they read because it's come in the newspaper or it's come in a magazine, so it has certain weight. But if things work the way you've said they work in the media, then I mean, where are the answers? So what do people like us do? So for example, people have been harping about how direct plans are great, and you yourself asked the question, right, that we don't know whether direct plans are good or bad, but somebody writes about it. There are people who believe it and will question us, right? So
it goes back to that my simple question. Ask them, show me one of your direct investment. I'm not asking you for all. Just show me one.
But newspaper is consumed by millions of people, right? Whom do I go explaining
Fine,
that?
I get your point.
There's no accountability.
See, which is where I'm saying, a lot of times, perhaps you could take it upon yourself to educate journalists. It's an effort. It may be worth it.
But you said they have big egos.
Still, we all try.
You still fight from Narayan's here.
So I'll give you a different.
See, I have one grouse in financial magazines. In case of medical journals, any kind of a profession other than financial services, when the writer gives his thoughts or writes, he gives his credentials, not to show off, but to tell the audience, I know, I have the capacity and the skills and competence to comment on something. For example, a cardiologist will give something in say MRCP, FRCP, and all that stuff, so that you respect that, okay, he's just coming from someone who knows what he's talking about. Why is it in this financial services, you don't have anybody writing their credentials, and I take some amateur rookie guy as a reference point and I discuss and waste my time on WhatsApp or Facebook or whatever.
You're highly influenced, that's what I will say. Which is what my first disclaimer itself was. Don't take it very seriously.
No, not me.
No, I'm also kind of generalizing in terms of, on the debate of doctors writing, prefixing, gold medalists, this, that. I come from a city where the private practitioner would have some half a dozen, certificates that says gold medal. And I live with a gold medalist who has shown me that there is no gold medal. So I have to believe her. And it's the All India Institute. So so when I actually see some of her friends, and then you ask, and then say, if I don't put this, the buggers don't value what I say. My patients don't value it. So I'll give you one more side of it. Unless a doctor charges 1,000 rupees and prescribes tests and medications which are more than 1,000 rupees, he's not taken seriously. Because he'll say, 1,000 rupees ka prescription liya, 200 rupees ka medicine liya. What is this? Chemist is taking only 200 rupees. That means this medication will not.
I said you have given a valuable input for advisors.
Now,
I have one question.
Yeah.
Sorry. There are a lot of these magazines, including yours, which I read also sometimes. It's quite, it communicates the thing very effectively with the customers.
Thank you.
What I don't find is also something which probably you can, throw light upon, is that, from the customer's point of view, some feedback. Something like, who are the people who buy certain products, what are the type of products that HNI is going for, where they go and do their business, some kind of statistics. I'm not able to get anywhere. It comes here and there, but we're not able to surely pinpoint and say this is. So is there some way that it can be done by some survey or something like that?
Probably.
Why it is not there?
What I can say is, so probably industry academic interface. People will not be giving more importance for industry academic interface. So many researchers and many people who are in the research area, and also they are doing. So probably they are doing a lot of research in terms of
So see, some people are doing research, and it's sometimes heartening when they will share. But if you have some sense of statistics, or if you have some sense of puncturing a lot of balloons, you say, yeah, this has not been done correctly. So as I speak, I know some of my colleagues are running a survey online for something, and they were trying to say we get 4,000 respondents and 5,000 respondents. I said, like, after 100 it is the same thing. It's like after the fourth drink, whether you give him black tea or black coffee, nobody understands. So let's be honest about it. You're just kind of, somewhere comforting yourself to say that we had so many people who participated in the survey. Surveys have their own flaws, their own limitations, and I won't get to that. But somewhere what you can always do when you're trying to seek this kind of segmenting or some information on that, you will have to devise some mechanics for you to discount this will happen or this will not happen. So I'll give you I'm not boasting or kind of self-propagating here. I landed from a semi-retirement into a full-time job in 2014 as editor of this magazine. And my first question to the management was, can we very clearly define who should be reading us or who definitely should not be reading? And this was not a question which they were accustomed to. They were looking for somebody who will come and say that how many people you need or what are your budgets. That was not the conversation. Conversation was completely different. So within a span of about half an hour, I thought, okay, I have to take back my next flight from Bombay. End of story. I can go back to my semi-retirement. Life is peaceful to me. But this led to a few hours of conversations to actually somewhere unearth data from the time when this magazine was conceptualized way back in 97, 98. So think almost 20 years ago, what kind of financial products existed, or what kind of financial journalism existed, and what this magazine managed to do at that time. So, to revisit sometimes those basic issues help. So, in the process, lot of things in the existing scene of things of the magazine had moved. So I'll give you my own example of my learning would have happened. So I would have from a base zero gone into some level and it would have plateaued. But that doesn't mean that my reader has also to follow the same thing. No? So I can't start writing saying that let's get into a derivative mode and give you strategies on how to kind of use a window to make money. When actually I'm a magazine which is then for an investor who's there more discerning. If window is a complete no, why should I be writing about it itself? Why should I be writing about commodities? Should I be writing about it at all? So when these things happened, a lot of people started having, and when I said a lot of people, a lot of colleagues, a lot of former colleagues, a lot of people in the profession started saying, oh shit, this guy is trying to do something which is stupid. But the big thing for me which became is, I also interact with a lot of readers of this magazine who've been there for fairly a long time.
Okay.
And it was a revelation for me when a doctor, incidentally it happened to be a doctor in Bombay, who I met. I didn't know him, he didn't know me till we got introduced. And he said that, frankly, I feel now that you guys are doing what you should have continued to do. So I understand your compulsions that, look, it's a fundamental trait. I have learned something, I would want to go further. But I keep giving this example to a lot of people that I'm like a TV screen, or I will keep changing. So if I was a box TV, then I'll become a flat TV, then I'll become an LED, then I'll become this, I'll become that. But whatever is being transmitted into that is going to be the same damn thing.
So like for example, there's a lot of talk about mis-selling, etc. So if there is some statistics, like how are the banks selling, what kind of products, who is selling what, so which product. So there is a little bit of case on those things. And I was just throwing one point. I mean, probably one more point.
See, I'll give you people who have done thesis on this entire open architecture system for insurance selling. And I have tried understanding as a consumer, forget as a person who's trying to view this industry closely. I have really not understood as a consumer how does it affect my life.
Okay, sorry to interrupt. We have one more question. Narayan is going to stay us for dinner. So all you can take offline also. So I would like to have one more question, sir. So Saurabh, you want to take? Okay. Last, and others can ask during the interaction.
Saurav's last question.
Yes.
Yeah, so I'll ask only one question.
I'm short.
Yeah.
Sure.
No, question could be longer, but probably it will be a nice concluding one, connecting the two parts which you have talked about. So I think this whole fee-based advisory movement, right? I think that's a conversation which has been going on, but I've noticed that it's going on between only two stakeholders, regulator and the advisors, right? The most important stakeholder in this conversation, which is the consumer, there is no awareness which is getting created to them that, why fee is superior for them, why is it in your advantage that you should be doing that. Now that awareness, whose responsibility it is, to do that, and what will be the right way of going about it, because otherwise we'll keep talking about viability, we'll keep talking about what is happening where, but until unless that consumer is willing to bring about that behavioral change, it's not going to happen, and awareness is, I think, the first step towards it.
I'll have a slightly different point of view here. My point is, I don't think advisory is needed for all consumers. So, I'm convinced on that. Even if I'm wrong or proven wrong, I'm convinced on that for large reasons. For those for whom advisory will work or should work, will have their self-discoveries, and that's the best way for them to happen. So in terms of creating awareness, if overemphasis is given the way that it's being given for the direct and non-direct or regular plans, it's only causing a lot of confusion and heartburn. So if I think about saying the advisory in the same way, I think a lot of people will procrastinate more, waiting to find out, can I get a 500 discount from you, or can I go to somebody else who's saying that I will execute it, or I will build the plan at this ridiculous low price, which otherwise is not possible. So we'll get into this entire piece of people are only then going to focus on costs, not what they're getting, which is, I think, very sad for this industry in this stage and this space.
It's not a question, just thought I'd share a perspective.
Please, please.
So I think we've kind of had a lot of views and all. So I just wanted to share something which seemed to be, which I've tried, because there's so much of changes which are happening in the industry. So sometimes in my interaction with clients, I've done 2 or 3 strategies which has seemingly worked out well. Maybe I just thought I'd share it. One is that one thing which came out, that there's a whole lot of information. So we are absorbing information all the time, but looking at the relevant data which matters our set of clients is important. So that is a good step to move forward. That's one. Obviously, information comes from various sources. Second is we are talking about charges, things coming down. So what thing is kind of which has worked for me when I talk to clients is that before even we onboard a client, tell the client in the upfront what is the charge structure, right? So that kind of clarity immediately helps and prevents any kind of heartburn later, because if he likes the value proposition, and the charges, you onboard and then you have a healthy interaction and professional relationship going forward. Thirdly, which has kind of been very clear, is that end of the day, because of the nature of a profession, I think every individual brings a unique value proposition to the set of clients he or she manages. Every human being is different, so every client is different. I think bringing that value proposition from an individual point of view, I'm saying, not the general industry, can be extremely important when you engage a client. So client would like me for who I am and respect me for whatever knowledge and expertise or servicing, whatever I'm bringing. If that chord or connect is there, you're building a healthy relationship with a few set of clients. Right? Number 3. And I think which is most important, which has happened, is that how do we want to kind of want our clients to perceive us? Right? The point I'm trying to make here is that it's important that when you engage a client, the client and I are on the same plane. If the client is here and I'm here, then client is just doing some charity to me, which I don't need. Or if we are on top and the client is here, we become very arrogant. That's also fallback. So if we are all on the same plane, then we both have mutual respect and value for each other's time and the advice that we are sharing. I think then it's a win-win relationship. Having said that, that will help us migrate the regulatory landscape, the debate much more effectively, and we can navigate those challenges.
Okay. That's what everybody's trying. So, you have a question.
I just have one question. Is there any initiative that you take to do a financial literacy in rural areas in their probably in the vernacular language or such that? Because the language
Please.
Because the language what we read here in the city and actually where it has to go to a larger section is totally different. The way they perceive the information here versus there is totally different. So is there anything that media is, I don't see any...
I think a lot of us are still trying to grapple with what we ourselves write. Forget about somebody else who reads it to understand.
That is one question.
We're too modest.
I'm trying to be modest here. However, one second question is the print media and the TV, what we see, are you guys, are you both work in the same style or fashion? Or is it totally different? What I read and what I see.
So, when I was giving this example, you need to have a beautiful looking lady, child, I used to be bearded for a fairly long period of time. So the first time itself I was told, spoke me and Tamara TV mein. So I was rejected purely on my face value. So, yeah, honestly.
In terms of content, I'm just asking you, the grammar is...
I'll give you a different thing, there is you see an anchor who's the face on a lot of these TV discussions. There is a very nicely hidden earpiece which is there. There is a nice white ticker which is going there. And there are prodders. So So those are the people who are actually doing things.
I understand the anchor side of it, but when you get these speakers or the advisors who speak on for the questions, they come out with a solution, and you also print some solutions. When we see when I read this and when I see that, somewhere it is not somewhere, lot of mismatch.
So what you see may not be actually what you read, purely because what you see you haven't heard. You've seen a lot of things.
My first question with respect to is it possible to see some work or the coming to rural areas in vernacular language?
So I can only talk about. I have visited in the last 18 months at least some 50 different places which are all tier 2, 3, 4, 5, whatever you can call it. Thankfully, I can speak in 3, 4 different languages and manage it. And effectively, I have understood only one thing: money means only one language, talks in only one language. You have it or you don't have it. So those who have it listen to you very seriously. Those who don't have it question you a lot, but they also try listening to you seriously and understand, so what is it that I can do with it. And yes, vernacular things happen. So what we do ourselves as an entity is, I don't build anything other than Hindi which comes, which I can do, purely because of logistical issues. I don't have the wherewithal to do it in other languages. But from time to time, there are AMCs, thanks to their financial literacy spends, they do a lot of work which is in different languages. We do create content for them, which is they use it in different languages.
Then don't you think that you are favoring that particular AMC at that point in time?
So my sense is somewhere or the other it's a trickle. If it happened, if that also didn't happen, then think about that. So it's like this. I have no qualms of accepting that I'm extremely overweight. And I keep telling a lot of people that if I don't do what little I do, also think how fatter I would be. So that's the only conviction my conversation with my wife happens, that if you keep saying that you're not losing weight, think if I don't do all that I'm doing so far.
Somewhere we have to collaborate. I mean, that's what I understand.
So yeah, see, it works. So I'll tell you, different places, different things work. So I work with a set of people who do some community radio, which is in Hindi, completely in Hindi. And I believe it reaches to an audience which is extremely Hindi centric. And I write in English, but it is for a Hindi audience. So you write very differently for them, because what I might write in natural English, they will not be able to correlate also. So unless you know who your subject is, who's going to read, I think it's unfair to start writing.
Last one event, answering Prasad about the TV events you were telling. You know, there used to be a lot of investor awareness programs. I remember one of the events I attended along with CNBC guys, where Vivek was coordinating that event. And I think Canara Bank was spent around 10 lakh rupees for that event. Where some 100 people attended. And one lady was answering a question about losing money in market. So Vivek got up very comfortably and asked, "Do you act on tips?" She replied, said, "Yes. I heard a lot of tips in CNBC and lost really lot of money." Rest of the program, Vivek didn't ask any question to me. So this is the way we do the literature.
Thank you, Narayan. Thank you. Over to Suresh.
So thank you all for your wonderful cooperation in the session very smoothly, and for your active participation. I also thank Mr. Narayan Krishnamurthy for accepting the invite from COFP and taking time all the way coming to Bangalore and interact with us. Here I would like to share with you all that when we invited him, you would like to have your presentation. He then put back a question to us, like how he put back to his Outlook management, who have to read this magazine. Then he asked us, what you want from me, what value you would like to add from me. So there are a lot of interaction between us in the midst of busy schedule. When budget is presented, maybe we finalized this on Feb 2nd. Your first invite when Shalini sent, you don't know that what is the topic. It's only speaker is Mr. Narayan Krishnamurthy. So a lot of thought has gone behind in selecting these topics. I hope and I believe that you all have a wonderful evening, good discussions with him on these two subjects, media insights and FP practices. So thank you, sir, for your discussions, and I believe that he's open heart in his discussions. So big round of applause to him. Big round of applause to him. I invite Jayesh as a token of gratitude to present a. I also invite Mr. Lovai to present a memento as a gratitude to Mr. Narayan Krishnamurthy. So I thank Mr. Amit for being patiently here.
By the way, he's from India Life Pensions. For those who don't know, he helps companies manage their pension program. So I'm not trying to pitch for him, but yeah, he's somebody whom you all should use in some way or the other, or maybe get to know what exactly they do, and there are ways that you can.
We can have a session with him.
Yeah.
Thank
you so much. I had a lot of very good.
Thank you all. Before I hand over to Mr. Srini and break for dinner, again, please wait for next month meeting. I promise you that it will be very inspiring and powerful talk. Again, we have second Wednesday of the month is 8th March. Same time, please mark your calendar. So those who don't make it, they miss a wonderful session. This is a promise from KMT. Thank you all. I invite Srini.
I'm again, I just wanted to say wholehearted thanks to Narayan, because every time I went to Narayan for any help with council, he has done more than what we have. Even this was a habitual meeting they met in my office and it has come. He has taken so seriously and he has put in so much. So I really wanted to thank him for all the help to COFP. Thank you.
Okay, sir. Thank you. It's time for dinner. Thank you all.